New London, 2150. Holographic advertisements twinkle in the city's night sky, and the hustle and bustle of a futuristic city echoes in the air. Inside the skyscraper of the Time Travel Institute, Erik Weston sat at his desk on the night shift, sipping coffee and checking data. The silence was broken by the sound of an emergency alarm. His monitor showed a warning message that time travel terrorists were about to intervene. At a critical point in the past, Erik instantly stood up and began preparing for his mission. "Not again," he mumbled, as the past trauma of losing his family came back to haunt him. He was determined to travel back in time. Chapter 1: The Bells of Beginning. 1-to-1 night in New London. It is the year 2150 in New London. Countless holographic advertisements twinkle in the city's night sky, creating a futuristic landscape. Aerial cabs fly between skyscrapers, and eco-friendly cars quietly pass by on the ground. The skyscraper of the Time Travel Institute looms in the center of it all. Overlooking the hustle and bustle of the city, Erik Weston was working the night shift in the Institute's office. On his desk was a state-of-the-art coffee maker, and he stared at the monitor as he sipped his hot coffee. Erik is a man in his mid-30s with sharp eyes and a well-defined face. He has deep wrinkles on his forehead from past traumas, 1 to 2 flashbacks of past loss of family. Erik took a sip of coffee and continued to check the data on the monitor. Suddenly, an alarm appeared on the monitor. Emergency: possible unauthorized intervention in the past. Erik's heart felt as if it had stopped for a moment. He quickly got up and checked the details of the alert. At that moment, a memory of the past came back to his mind 10 years ago. Erik lost his family in a car accident. He had learned that the accident had been caused by a time travel technology that had altered history, and he had become a time travel agent in order to get his family back. In his mind, he could clearly see the smiling faces of his beloved wife and children. 1-to-3 emergency meeting. Erik quickly made his way to the emergency meeting room. There, his fellow agents had gathered, and the director, James Harris, was beginning to explain. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have confirmed an unauthorized intervention into the past. Our target is Europe during World War II. A terrorist group is trying to alter an important battle. Our mission is to stop them and protect history." James's words were met with tension. Erik exchanged glances with his colleague Marcus Raymond, historian Amelia Bennett, and Daniel Cartwright, inventor of time travel technology. All of them, it turned out, were on a mission. Scene 4: Preparing for the mission. After the meeting, Erik and his team immediately set about preparing for their mission. Erik inspected his equipment and donned his time travel suit. The suits were equipped with the latest protective technology, and designed to adapt to past environments. Amelia checked the historical database, and compiled the information necessary for this mission. "Erik, this battle is of great importance. If the terrorists succeed, the geopolitical balance of our time will be severely upset." Erik nodded at Amelia's words. "I understand, Amelia. We absolutely must stop them." Finally, Daniel finished adjusting the time travel device. "The device is ready. I wish you all the best." Erik and the others stood in front of the time portal, their hearts united. "Let's go, for the future." Erik's voice rang out, and the time portal opened. Surrounded by light, they flew into the past. Chapter 2: A Leap into the Past. 2-to-1 Europe during World War II. When the light from the time portal went out, Erik and his team were instantly standing on a battlefield in Europe during World War II. All around them, explosions and gunfire rang out. Smoke filled the air, and soldiers fought amidst the chaos. Enemy planes were flying in the sky and tanks were advancing on the ground. Erik quickly checked his surroundings and gave instructions to his team. "Everyone, spread out and check the situation. Find out where the terrorists are." Marcus responded over the radio, and Amelia and Daniel also began to do their part. Erik readied his gun and carefully made his way through the battlefield. 2-to-2 Identifying terrorists on the battlefield. Erik spotted a group of soldiers hiding on the edge of the battlefield. Among them, he recognized a figure wearing futuristic equipment. "A terrorist," Erik reported over the radio, alerting his team. Marcus approached the location and checked it with his binoculars. There is no doubt, they are trying to alter history. Amelia explained the historical importance of the battle. This battle is the moment when the victory of the Allied forces will be confirmed. If they intervene, it will change the course of the war. Erik radioed an order. All men, take your positions. We will begin our attack. 2 to 3 combat. Erik and his men launched a simultaneous attack on the terrorists. The battlefield became even more chaotic, and the sounds of explosions and gunfire intensified. Erik calmly took aim at the terrorists and shot at them, taking them down one after another. However, the leader of the terrorists caught their attention. He was Naomi Levy's one-hand man and a ruthless tactician. He said, "You are too late, my friends. History will be rewritten by our hands." Erik cornered the leader, but he was about to activate the device to alter history. Erik took a moment to defeat the leader and succeeded in destroying the device. Scene 4: Meeting with Grandfather. After the battle was over, Erik found his grandfather among the soldiers on the battlefield. His grandfather was young and fighting bravely. For a moment, Erik worried that his presence might affect his history. But he just watched him quietly. Seeing his grandfather smiling and talking with his friends brought warm feelings to Erik's heart. History has been preserved. This is all right. Erik left and joined his team, relieved that everyone had completed their mission safely. Erik renewed his mind for the next mission. Chapter 3: Insiders in the Shadows. 3 to 1 Erik and his team back at the Institute. Back in New London, Erik and his team were gathered in the briefing room of the Time Travel Institute. Erik sat in a chair with a tired look on his face, staring at the monitor in front of him. On the screen was the report for this mission. James Harris, the director, walked into the room and turned to everyone. He said, "Well done, guys. It is a great accomplishment to have prevented the alteration of the past. But we have a bigger problem. There is a strong possibility that there is a traitor in our midst." His words caused tension in the room. Erik furrowed his brow and looked at James. "What do you mean?" 3 to 2 Suspicion of Marcus. James continued, "Our movements were being intercepted by the terrorists. Someone is leaking information. We are currently investigating the inside man. But I am afraid that suspicion has been raised about you, Marcus." Erik was astonished and looked at Marcus. Marcus frowned, his denial strong. He frowned, "Nonsense, that's not possible. I've been a member of this team with all sincerity." Erik put his hand on Marcus's shoulder and urged him to calm down. "James, do you have any proof?" James shook his head. Nothing definitive yet. But there are a few things about Marcus's behavior that are suspicious. 3 to 3 Internal investigation proceeds. Erik and Amelia decide to proceed with the internal investigation to prove Marcus's innocence. Erik scrutinized the database, while Amelia checked the surveillance footage. After several hours, Amelia discovered a new lead. "Erik, look at this," she said, as she replayed the surveillance video, showing another researcher, not Marcus, acting suspiciously. Erik stared at the footage and became convinced. This is him. He's the inside man. 3 to 4 Tracking down and arresting the inside man. Erik and Amelia reported to James and confirmed the identity of the inside man. The man was a researcher in time travel technology, working for Naomi Levy. He had been passing information to the terrorists and assisting them in this attack. The informant attempted to flee, but Erik and Marcus moved quickly to track him down. A chase ensued in the lab, with Erik eventually subduing the informant. "Your game is over," Erik said coldly, taking the informant into custody. James arrived on the scene and thanked Erik and the others. "The internal threat has now been eliminated," James said. "But our fight is not over yet." Erik took a deep breath and steeled himself for the next battle. "We know. The next time we will locate their stronghold and completely destroy them." Chapter 4: A Rift in Time. 4 to 1 A new terrorist plan. The informant has been caught and the lab is now secure. But Erik and his team know that the next threat is imminent. They received information that a terrorist group, led by Naomi Levy, was planning to destroy the time travel device itself and disrupt all timelines. In the briefing room, James Harris began to explain with a nervous look on his face. Naomi is going to risk everything to launch a final attack. If they destroy the device, Everything in the past and future will fall into chaos. Our mission is to protect the device. Erik looked around at his team members and renewed his determination. Everyone get ready. This will be the most important battle of our lives. 4-2 The Institute's defense. A state of emergency has been declared at the time. Travel Institute and all personnel are on the defensive. Erik and his team set up a defensive perimeter around the device and prepared for a terrorist attack. Marcus radioed in a report. The enemy is approaching. Everyone hold your positions. Erik stood in front of the device with his pistol at the ready. Daniel made a final check of the device, while Amelia monitored the monitors. Suddenly, the outer wall of the Institute exploded and the terrorists rushed in. Amidst the sound of gunfire and explosions, Erik and his team desperately fought a defensive battle. 4-3 Fierce offensive and defensive battle. Erik fought off the enemies, who attacked one after another and defended the device with his friends. However, the enemy's numbers were overwhelming, and they gradually cornered him. Just as Erik was wounded, Naomi Levy appeared. Erik Weston. Naomi smiled ruthlessly and pointed a gun at Erik. Erik stood up, fighting back the pain, and confronted Naomi. Naomi, I will not allow you to alter history any further. Your way is wrong. Naomi lowered her gun and looked a little sad. I can't go back, she said. I have lost everything and I just want to change the world. 4-4 Revealing Naomi's motives and reconciliation. Naomi began to recount a tragedy from her past. She revealed that her family lost their lives due to the alteration of history, and that her desire for revenge is what drives her. As Erik listened to her story, he juxtaposed it with his own past. Naomi, I understand how you feel. However, no amount of further senseless destruction will heal the wounds in your heart, Erik said quietly. Naomi lowered her gun and walked over to Erik, tears streaming down her face. Maybe you're right, she said. But I don't know what to do. Erik took Naomi's hand and spoke softly. Together we can build a new future. Together we can overcome our past and build our future. Naomi was silent for a moment and then nodded. I understand. I'll try to believe again. Erik and Naomi convinced the terrorists to end the battle. The time travel device was safely protected and all timelines were stabilized. Chapter 5 Shadow of the Past, Light of the Future. Scene 1 An attempt at reconciliation with Naomi. The battle was over, and the Institute had regained its serenity. Erik and his team relaxed and returned to the briefing room with Naomi. Naomi sat with her eyes down, seemingly reflecting on her actions. Erik sat down in front of Naomi and spoke softly to her. Naomi, I understand how much your actions have affected your past. But you can still change the future. But you can still change the future. If you can walk a new path with us, we will give you that hand. Naomi wiped away tears and listened to Erik's words. Are you really willing to give me a chance? Erik nodded. We can't change the past, but we can build a future together. We can use your knowledge and power for good. Scene 2 Naomi decides to back out. Naomi took a deep breath and stood up as if ready. I understand. I will not fight anymore. From now on, I will work with you and your people for the future. James Harris entered the room and extended his hand to Naomi. I welcome your cooperation. I welcome your cooperation, and together we will build a new future. Naomi took James's hand and smiled at him. Thank you, James said. I will do my best to help you. I will do my best to help you. Scene 3 Back to Future New London. Erik and his team have successfully completed their mission and returned to the future New London. While the restoration work at the Institute was in progress, Erik returned to his office and sat at his desk. There was a family photo on the desk, and Erik stared at it. He smiled quietly and whispered to the picture. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you guys. And I will continue to protect the future. Scene 4 Erik's new resolution. Erik went up to the roof of the Institute and looked up at the holographic advertisement. Floating in the night sky, the lights of the city shine brightly, and hope for the future is palpable. Amelia appeared next to Erik. Erik, what are you going to do now? Erik smiled and answered, I will continue my mission to protect the future for the next generation. That's what I'm going to do. Amelia smiled and nodded. Yes, we still have a lot of work to do. Erik agreed with Amelia and looked up into the night sky. The future is in our hands. The future is in our hands, to overcome the shadows of the past and find a new light. Epilogue. Erik and Amelia left the rooftop and returned to the Institute to prepare for their new mission. Their adventure continues as they look up at the night sky, where holographic advertisements shine brightly. To protect the future for the next generation, Erik Weston and his friends continue on with new hope.